is the soul? It's like electricity. We don't really know what it is, but it's a force that can light a room. Hello, I'm Janice Voss. I was born in South Bend on October 8, 1956. My mother was Louise and my father was James R. Voss. I had 3 sisters named Karen, Linda, and Victoria. After I read A Wrinkle in Time, I knew I wanted to become an astronaut. I went to 3 schools, Johnson Elementary, Cobleford Center School, and Minnetonka Regional High School. This was in K through 12th grade. I was so smart that I skipped 2 grades. After I graduated high school, I went to Purdue to study electrical engineering and MIT for college. Before and during my time at NASA, I married and divorced to Russell D. Howard and Brian D. Ford, but had no children. I was in selection group NASA 13 and I've been to space 5 times. I've also flown on the spacecraft Discovery. Some interesting facts about me are I was Purdue's first female astronaut. Purdue dedicated the Voss model to me, a macroscale solar system. I had a spacecraft named after me, the SS James Voss. Sadly, I died on February 6, 2012 in Scottsdale, Arizona because of breast cancer. People saw me as a great, determined, and an amazing woman.
Hi, I'm Cassie Sawyer. I was born in New York November 11th, 1959. I'm a racehorse and I'm a professional golfer. I'm a father to 3 daughters and 1 son. One of my famous quotes that newspapers do a good job at telling me what happened yesterday, but they'd be even better if they could tell me what's going to happen tomorrow. First golfer since 1935 to win the Masters Championship. I competed in the 1979, 1983, and 1985 Ryder Cups. I started a company called Business Box. Something interesting about me is that I like to cook and make up. My mom is almost there, and my dad is recent. And I transferred to the University of Houston.
What would you do if you were the first female pilot? Quit and wait until someone else does it, or just do it? You should have said continue to do it. Today we will be interviewing Amelia Earhart, so let's get started. Hello, my name is Amelia Earhart. I was born on July 24th, 1897 in Atchison, Kansas. I lived there for most of my life until my family moved to 4 different places, which were Des Moines, Iowa, St. Paul, Minnesota, and Chicago. When I visited my sister in Toronto during World War I, I realized I wanted to become a nurse's aide on the Red Cross. When I started medical studies, I had to stop and go to California to support my parents. My family consisted of 6 people, including me, my parents, Samuel Stanton Earhart, and Amelia Otis Earhart, and my sister Grace Muriel Earhart Morrison, and my grandparents David Earhart and Mary Wells. Sadly, my father died on September 1930, and my mother died 32 years and 11 months later on the 29th of October in 1962. I then married my husband George P. Putnam. He had multiple jobs: explorer, editor, promoter, botanist, publisher, and travel writer. I was his second wife, and my jobs were aircraft pilot, author, journalist, and travel writer. I spent my early years outside studying with my sister due to my dad's legal work on multiple railroads. The family had to move a lot. I went to a private elementary school. I went to high school, Columbia University, and Penn State Academy. It took me 2 years to learn how to fly. I supported the Equal Rights Amendment. I worked for good reasons. Many women find me as famous, even though I didn't. After I completed multiple record-breaking flights, I received hundreds of letters congratulating me. I was known for flying an autogyro type of plane, being the first woman vice president of the National Aeronautical Association, entrepreneur, fashion designer, and making suitcases. I had multiple quotes, but here's one. Never do things people can do and will do. There are things others cannot do and will not do. Sadly, I died on January 5th, 1939, around Howland Island, because my plane ran out of fuel. I died by swimming to shore and resting because I got eaten by giant crabs.
Did you plan to run off a steel cage, set on fire, and have your hood ripped off? Well, that's what happened to me.
Hello, my name is McReynolds. I was born in 1965 in Bloomington, Indiana. Unfortunately, a few months after I was born, I had to move to Long Island for in high school. I would start the wrestling for WCW, but would soon leave after that in the 1990s. At the start of 1991, I would start working for many different companies, but would go to All Japan for wrestling. There I would lose my first 5 matches, but soon later would break my elbow and would be fired. After that, I would start working for TWA, a company that I worked for earlier, and another name for them is the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. I did move from in 1990 that same year, but then I would go back to WCW or World Championship Wrestling, but then would be thrown to in 1994. I finally have a big start in 1994 where I would go to Extreme Championship Wrestling or ECW, where I would start a feud with the wrestling leaders of the year. I gained more fame after I had joined ECW, but later in my career I would start a feud with another wrestler, the same man, but would lose the feud and then leave after 1995. I would join WWE, or World Wrestling Entertainment. At the time, they were WWF, or the World Wrestling Federation. I would work for them in the 1990s and stay there for most of my career, and there I would have 4 different personalities. My real name, Mick Foley, Mankind, which is why you can see me wearing a sock puppet. I would be D-Love, and Cactus Jack, who is my most famous character, and I used him the most throughout my career. I would finally retire from wrestling in 2012 after the Royal Rumble in 2012, but I would still make appearances for WWE, but I would finally stop during the 2020s after I finally started to have more of family time. My most famous quote probably had to be, "Have a nice day," and I would use that as Mankind. So now every time you watch a wrestling match with a guy named Mankind, Duke Love, or Cactus Jack, you know that's me.
Hi, my name is Geneva Stratton Porter, but I prefer to be called Jean. When I was a young girl, I intervened before my father could kill a hawk, and I nursed the hawk back to health, and my family gave me the name Little Bird Jean. At the age of 12, 4 of my siblings and my mother had died. I lived with my father and my other 7 siblings, and they didn't pay a lot of attention to me since I was the youngest. And I used my extra time to spend time in nature. I dropped out of school before I graduated high school and then I took nature as my school because I realized that I didn't like to stay inside, but I liked to stay outside. I married Charles Porter, and a year later had a daughter named Jeanette. When Jeanette was 5 years old, her and her father got me a camera, the camera started my love of photography, especially of nature and birds. I wrote for nature magazines, and I put into the nature magazines my pictures and observations of nature. And I wrote nonfiction and fiction books, but I preferred to write fiction because they got people more interested in nature. And some of my books are Girl of the Limberlost, Freckles, and Keeper of the Bees. And some of my books were also turned into movies. I was very famous for my photography and my books. Sadly, I died on December 6th, 1963, on my way to my brother Jerome's house. and I was first buried in Hollywood, California, and later moved to the Gene Stratton Porter State Historical Site by McReynolds. I have 2 historical museums for me, and I feel very proud of my work to protect nature and the Limberlost.
Hi, I'm Abraham Lincoln, but some people call me Honest Abe. I was born February 12, 1809 at Hodgenville, Kentucky. My mom and dad moved all us kids to Indiana. Did you know that I have a brother and sister? When I was 9 years old, my mom passed away, but my dad remarried. My stepmom wanted me to go to school to learn and read because my dad and stepmom couldn't. When I was 21, my family moved to Illinois by driving oxen. That was a bumpy road. I worked by slitting rails, a postmaster, and part of the boat crew. When I was 24, I ran for Illinois State Legislature. I lost the first time, but I won my second and third time. When I was 33, I married Mary Todd Lincoln, and we had 4 children together. I was able to join the U.S. House of Representatives and help the U.S. end slavery. When I was 49, I ran for Senate, and soon after I became president, and I helped win the Civil War. But when I was 56, I was shot in the head by the famous actor John Wilkes Booth. I forgot to put something about this. This is one of my favorite hobbies when I was young was astrology or stargazing.
Never be satisfied with good enough. Hi, I'm William Redenbacher. I was born in Cornwall on July 16, 1907. My mom is Julia Redenbacher, and my father is William Redenbacher. I have 3 siblings, Elise, Mabel, and Carl. I have 2 ex-wives that I am not currently married to, Courtney Rosebud Strait and Nina Render. I have 3 kids, Gail, Carol, and Billy. I grew up on my family farm where I sold popcorn in Wesleytown on the roadside. I graduated in 1924 at top 5% of my class. After high school, I went to Purdue University. I sadly died in Colorado, California on September 19, 1995 from a heart attack. People say that I was very determined and I worked very hard. I tried very hard to make sure my popcorn was the best, and I was confident it was.
Do you know who published Thriller? Of course, it's Michael Jackson. I was born on August 29, 1958. My father's name was Joe Jackson, and my mother's name was Catherine Jackson. I had 8 brothers and sisters. The names of them were Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Martin, Randy, Remy, Latoya, and Janet. I married the daughter of Elvis Presley. My most famous album was Thriller. First to Be There was my first album, and La Legenda El Pop was my last album. I performed on Super Bowl stage 37. In my childhood, I started a band called the Jackson 5. I did not feel like I had the greatest childhood. I was taught by private tutors, and I did not go to any college. For my job, I was a singer. I married 2 people. They were Lisa Mary Presley and Debbie Rowe. I had 3 kids. The name of them were Prince Jackson, Paris Jackson, and Michael Joseph Jackson Jr. I lived in Indiana for 11 years, 1958 through 1969. I impacted the United States by shattering the racial barrier. Now let's talk about how I tried to do anything and what I tried to become Spider-Man. I am called the King of Pop by most people. My real name is Michael Joseph Jackson Jr. The time I was the best-selling artist was the year I died. And my inspiration was James Brown, and his job was a singer. What people thought about me was that I was great. My most famous quote is, "In a world filled with hate, we must dare to hope. In a world filled with anger, we must dare to comfort. In a world filled with despair, we must dare to dream." The time of my death was June 25th, 2009. The place of my death was Los Angeles, California. The cause of my death was most likely from a heart attack from drugs, and I was loved by many.
Hi, I am Tyler Cheney. I was born in Evansville, Indiana, July 17th, 1971. I went to William Henry Harrison High School to play basketball. I stood out amongst my teammates and other teams. Sadly, a season-ending injury in my senior year of high school ended my high school career. I was virtually unknown as IU's #1 recruiting class in 1989. I led my team to the NCAA tournament every year. Our best year was 1992 when I led them to the Final Four, but sadly lost to the Duke Blue Devils 81-78. I was drafted in the 1993 NBA draft to the Washington Wizards. In 1997, the Washington Wizards changed the name to Washington Bullets to the Washington Wizards. I was traded to the Boston Celtics, then the Denver Nuggets, the Utah Jazz, and last but not least, the Golden State Warriors. I ended my NBA career with the All-American honors. After the NBA, I moved to coaching. I coached at Erie Bayhawks College and St. Louis College. In 2020, I went back to the NBA to coach for the Indiana Pacers as their player development coach. I went back to IU in 2022 to be their player development coach. I married Yvette Cheney in the 1990s, and we have 2 kids, Julian and Sydney Cheney. I am also an actor. I act in the movie Blue Chips, made in 1994.
Hi, my name is Gene Cady, former coach of the Purdue Boilermakers in 1980 to 2005. I grew up in Lawrence, Kansas, and was born May 21st, 1936. I had a sister named Norma and a mom and dad named Mary Ann Lloyd. I went to Lawrence, Kansas High School, Garden City Community College, and Kansas State. Besides Purdue, I coached at other schools such as Beloit Junior Senior High School in 1959 to 1965, Hutchinson Junior College, and was the assistant in 1965 to 1966. Then I became the head coach at Hutchinson Junior College and was it in 1966 to 1974. After that, I moved on to Arkansas and was the assistant in 1975 to 1978. Then I went to Western Kentucky University in 1978 to 1980. After that, I went to where I spent most of my coaching career at Purdue in 1980 to 2005. I retired at Purdue and came back from retirement and decided to be the assistant for the Toronto Raptors in 2005 to 2006. After that, I coached at St. John's in 2010 to 2015. I also coached for the Pitt Panthers. My all-time coaching record was 737 wins and 340 losses. I had 2 children with my first wife, then married Patty Cady and adopted her daughter. After Patty died in 2009, I married Kathleen Pocher, who I'm still married to today. I was the Big Ten Coach of the Year 7 times. I had 6 Big Ten championships, and I made 17. I made the Elite 8 2 times and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2023. My name is on the Purdue court named after me, Katie Court. I coached 2 Olympic teams, one with Bobby Knight, and on those Olympic teams I coached Vince Carter, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan, Ray Allen, and at Purdue I coached Big Dog, Lynn Robinson, and Matt Painter, the coach of Purdue now. One of my most famous quotes was, "He works at it more than most guys. He's one of those guys, hungry to get better. He's got a desire, and I like his attitude." Weather up!
I wasn't afraid to fail. Something good always comes out of failure. Hi, my name is Ann Baxter. I'm a famous Hollywood and Broadway production actress. I won an Academy Award and a Golden Globe Award. I will be telling you a little bit more about my life. I was born on May 7, 1923 in Michigan City, Indiana. My mother's name was Catherine Baxter and my father's name was Kenneth Stewart Baxter. I had two brothers, James and Richard. My maternal grandfather was Frank Lloyd Wright. And my first play at 5 years old. My family and I left Indiana when I was 6 and we moved to New York. While in New York, I was in Broadway plays at ages 10 and 13. I really loved acting. As a teenager, I attended Brearley School in New York. My acting career took off at a young age, and I appeared in many Hollywood movies. I even won awards for my acting. In 1946, I married John Hoddick and we had a little girl named Katrina. In 1960, we later divorced, and in 1960, I married Randolph Gall, and we had two children, Melissa and Magno. We later divorced, and I married David Clee. I sadly became widowed shortly after. I lived in Indiana for only 5 years. I was known for my never give up attitude. I was an active member of the Republican Party, and I have been in around 50 films and almost as many TV shows. I was the maternal granddaughter of Frank Lloyd Wright. Wright was a famous designer and architect. I began studying with famous Russian acting coach Maria Alstinskaya. 2 years later, after studying with Maria, I made my Broadway debut. All About Eve was one of the more well-known films I starred in. I had been in Hollywood film for over 50 years when I died. Many people thought of me as humble, kind, and a person who always treated people with consideration and respect. A famous quote we was, "I wasn't afraid to fail. Something good always comes out of failure. I failed many times in life, but I never gave up on my dreams." On December 12, 1985, I sadly passed away on Lenox Hill Hospital. I had a stroke while hailing a taxi on Madison Avenue. Thank you for letting me have the time to share some information about my life.
A winner is someone who recognizes his God-given talents, works his tail off to develop them into skills, and uses these skills to accomplish his goals. Hi, I'm Larry Bird, and today we're going to be talking about my life. We're going to be talking about what my family life is like, my childhood, how I impacted Indiana, my adult life, and more. I was born on December 7, 1956. I lived in West Baden Springs, Indiana. My parents were Claude Joseph Burt and Georgia Burt. My siblings were Eddie, Linda, Mike, Mark, and Jeff Burt. My schooling information. I went to Springs Valley High School, and for college, I went to Indiana State and Indiana University. But I dropped out of Indiana University after 24 days. I planned on playing for Bobby Knight, but couldn't afford it at the time. My early life, I would constantly shoot around and play basketball. How I impacted Indiana. I impacted Indiana by coaching the Indiana Pacers from 1997 to 2000. And I played for ISU and went to the national championship, where I played against Magic Johnson and the Michigan State Spartans. We sadly ended up losing. Marriage and children. I married Janet Condra from 1975 to 1976. I then got married to Dinah Mattingly and is still married to her now. I have 3 children named Mariah, Connie, and Connor. Mariah is adopted, Connor is adopted, and Connie is biological. I played professional basketball. I had to quit because of serious back issues. Lost to Celtics, drafted me in the 6th overall pick. I got drafted in 1978. Where I live in Indianapolis, French Lick, and Terre Haute. Fun fact about me. I'm 67 years old. I played with people like Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, and more. I played for the Celtics. I'm 6 feet and 9 inches. And I retired at 35 years old. I was nicknamed the Hick from French Lick. I have won 3 championships. I was number 33 for the Boston Celtics.
Thank you for taking the time to listen about my life and so many other things.
One has to remember that every failure can be a stepping stone to something better. That's something I used to say. Hi, my name is Cornel Sanders, and I'm the person that made KFC in 1952, when I was 62 years old. I was born on September 9th, 1890 in Henryville, Indiana. My parents were Margaret Ann Sanders and Wilbert David Sanders. My dad taught me how to cook, but he sadly died, so I had to take care of my brother Clarence Sanders and my sister Catherine Sanders. After my dad died, because my mom was always working. My grandparents were H.W. Sanders, William H. Sanders, Jonathan Sanders, and Levi Sanders, and Mary Sanders. They died in my early life. In my childhood, I was enlisted but got discharged from the U.S. Army before my 17th birthday. My mom got work in a tomato cannery, and I was left to cook for my siblings. By the age of 7 in 1972, I was skilled with bread and vegetables, improving with meat. We farmed for food while our mom was away from work for days at a time. I also dropped out of school when I was 12. I got to college and practiced law in La Salle Extension University. At the age of 40, I was running a service station in Kentucky where I would feed hungry travelers. Then I moved the station. I was soon named the Kentucky Colonel by my mayor. Some interesting facts about me. I lived in Indiana from 1890 to 1902. I opened my first restaurant inside of a gas station. I served in the military. My first franchise was in Utah. I started KFC when I was 65, and I served in the U.S. Army and lied about my age to get in. Over the years of raising my siblings and having so many jobs, it taught me many characteristics that will be important later in my life, such as responsibility, compassion, and commitment. I learned these character traits from running so many jobs and helping my siblings. I used to say, I've only had 2 rules. Do all you can and do it the best you can. It's the only way you ever get the feeling of accomplishing something. I died on December 16, 1980 in Louisville, Indiana, Kentucky, USA. I died from pneumonia.
Hi, I'm Reggie Moore and I'm 15 years old. I was born August 24, 1965 in Riverside, California. I was born with hip deformities which prevented me from walking until the age of 3. My parents are Carrie and Saul Miller. I have 4 siblings. Daryl and Saul Miller Jr. are my brothers, and Cheryl and Tammy are my sisters. I went to Riverside Polytech High School from 1979 to 1983, then attended UCLA from 1983 to 1987. While attending UCLA, I played basketball for the Bruins. Then, in 1987, I was drafted to the NBA by the Indiana Pacers, leaving me to move from California to Indiana. On May 7th, 1995, I scored 8 points in 9 seconds, leading my team to victory against the New York Knicks. Then, in the 2001 to 2002 season, I donated $1,000 for every free throw I hit. I went to different charities, totaling $206,000. Then, in 2002, I was Male Athlete of the Year. In 2006, I was retired by the Indiana Pacers. Then, in 2012, I was inducted to the Basketball Hall of Fame. I still live in Indiana and I'm a sports broadcaster. I'm currently married to Laura and I have 3 children with her. Their names are Remy, Lennox, and Riker. A quote I have is believe in yourself, even when nobody else does.
Hi, I'm Tony Anthony Wayne Stewart, and I was born on May 20, 1971 in Rushville, Indiana. My only sibling is Natalie Stewart. In my childhood, I raced my go-kart at Westport, Indiana's racetrack. I have lived in Indiana my entire life, and I have impacted the racing community by winning championships in many different types of racing. I went to Columbus North High School, and I went to DeSoto College. I got asked to play football for the University of Miami, Michigan, and Penn State. In my adult life, I raced in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, Silver Crown, IndyCar, and Midget Series. I was notorious with being a 3-time Xfinity Series champion and Indy 500 winner. In time, I got the nickname Smoke. I am the co-owner of Stewart House Racing, but I haven't given up racing just yet.
My name is Madam C.J. Walker. I was born on December 23rd, 1867 in the lovely place of Delta, LA. Owen Breedlove and Minerva Breedlove were both my parents. My siblings were Lavinia Breedlove, Owen Breedlove Jr., Solomon Breedlove, Alexander Breedlove, and James Breedlove. Some other family members are Ferry Bryant, Charles Walker, Moses McReynolds, and John Davis. I was known to be one of the first African American millionaires in the United States. I was actually also orphaned at the age of 7 and had to live with my older sister Lavinia, but partly to escape my abusive brother-in-law. I was married to Moses McReynolds at age 14, who I later had a child with named Lelia, who I later changed her name to Lelia. School I could not attend because I worked too much, but later got into Knoxville, Tennessee College. I had many jobs when I was older, such as an inventor, business person, social activist, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. I also made hair products. I lived here in Indiana my whole life. I was one of the first Black African American millionaires in the United States. I employed 40,000 African American women and men in the United States, Central American, and Caribbean. The Walker Theater opened in Indianapolis in my honor. Although I never got an award, but I was also the headline of a newspaper. When I was young, I could not get an education because I had worked too much. As my wealth increased, so did my philanthropic and political outreach. I contributed the YMCA covered tuition for 6 African American students at Tuskegee Institute and became active in the anti-lynching movement, donating $5,000 to the NAACP efforts. I had to make my own living and my own opportunity, but I made it. Don't sit down and wait for the opportunities to come. Get up and make them, was a quote I had made. Due to kidney failure and complications of hypertension, I died in Irvington, New York on May 25th, 1919.
Hi, I'm Mother Indiana, an artist born on September 13th, 1928 in Newcastle, Indiana. I had a mother named Carmen and a father named Ed. I had no siblings. I spent my childhood in Indianapolis. When I became a teenager, I went to the Arsenal Tech High School and the Skowhegan School of Painting and Sculpture. I've never been married nor had any kids. In my adult life, I served in the U.S. Army Air Forces and the Art Institute of Chicago. I've impacted in the U.S. by being in the U.S. Army Air Forces. Here are some fun facts about me. 1. My birth name was Clark, not Indiana. 2. I graduated as a valedictorian in my class at Arsenal Tech High School. 3. I stayed to hold 3 years in the U.S. Army Air Forces. 4. I got inspired by Martian Carly to do the fun painting I did long ago. 5. I was adopted as an infant. Most people describe me as a prominent and gracefully artist. One of my famous quotes are, "My art is my love, my love is my art." I died on May 9th, 2018 in Banal Haven, Maine. The reason for my tragic death was because of respiratory system failure.
Hi, I'm Jane Alice Peters, 34, born in Fort Wayne, Indiana on October 6, 1908. My mom took me to Los Angeles with my 2 brothers, leaving my dad left behind. They did not divorce. I got enrolled to school. In elementary, I was homeschooled with my parents at home, and in junior high, I went to Hilton Junior High School. In Fairfax High School, I changed my name to Carol Lombard after a girl I played tennis with. Also in high school, I did acting, which changed my life forever. Instead of going to college, I signed some papers to become an actress, and that's exactly what happened. I enrolled in acting, got accepted, and began that day. In my whole career, I made 56 long films, 18 short films, and many famous movies you may know. I married 2 of Hollywood's greatest men, one who stayed with me and one who left me. I had 2 miscarriages, and I'm still married to William Powell today. I had to travel back to Indiana, but I wanted to stay in Los Angeles. The reason is World War II is coming, and I raised more than $2,000 in support in one single evening. Sadly, but happily, I died January 16, 1942, in Mount Pleasant, Nevada because of a plane crash.
Some people know me as Jenna Fisher, but my real name is Regina Marie Fisher. I was born on March 7th in 1974 in Fort Wayne, Indiana, although I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm currently 49 years old. I married Lee Kirk on July 7th of 2010. I live in Los Angeles, California. We have one son named Weston, who is 12 years old, and one daughter named Harper. I was first married to James Gunn in the year 2000, but later divorced in 2008. Growing up, I enjoyed watching my mom act in church plays. This made my love for acting come to life. Thanks for my mother's help, I started church plays a couple of years later. I attended Paramount Elementary and Norristown High for high school. After I graduated from Truman State for college, I graduated with a bachelor's in theater arts and a minor in journalism. I became a trained theater actress. Sheen Gunn was my childhood friend. We acted in a lot of plays together as kids. We lost touch in high school though. After college, I went to act in The Office and more movies or shows. My most remembered role is Pam in The Office, and my most recent is Mean Girls 2 as Katie's mom. I became good friends with Angela Kinsey, also from The Office. I am her son's godmother. I have even made many donations to the NAACP and the Trevor Project. One famous quote you can remember me by is, "I think of myself as a kind person. I also believe in 5-year plans. I think they help me stay healthy and help me become a better person for me and not for others. So please stay you and don't change for others."
Hi, I'm Skylar Thorpe. I was born on 1941 in Portland, Indiana, to Lucille Thorpe and William Thorpe. I had a total of 3 siblings, being Tonte Thorpe, Stanley Thorpe, and Stanford Thorpe. I then moved to Rialto, California at a young age. I also was raised in Rialto. My mother spent hours driving me to my dance lessons. Growing up, I was into musical instruments and dance styles. I spent a few months each living with my grandparents on their farm. Before I moved to California, there I stopped going to their farm. When my parents moved to Rialto, they opened a drive-in theater where I worked when I was 8 years old. I went to Pacific High School, but then attended 3 colleges, being San Bernardino Valley College, Bernard College, and Pomona College. I transferred to Bernard College after 3 semesters of Pomona College. After that, I studied art history, but I found that dance classes I took off campus to be my passion. In 1965, I founded my own company called Twilight Thorpe Dance. In 1988, my company merged with the American Ballet Theater and made over 12 works. Soon after, I started teaching dance lessons. I have received numerous awards, such as Tony Award for Best Choreography and MacArthur Fellowship. I have wrote a lot of books as well. I directed over 5 Hollywood movies and got married to Peter Young, but sadly he died after. We had no children and I never remarried. I once said, art is the only way to run away without leaving home. Thank you for listening.
Hello, I'm Oscar Charleston. On October 14th, I was born to Thomas and Mary Charleston. During my childhood, I played sandlot baseball. I had 2 siblings. Their names were Benny Charleston and Catherine Charleston. At the age of 15, I dropped out of college to enlist into the United States Army. Although getting accepted, I had to lie about my age in order to actually try and enlist. After being discharged, I tried out for the MLB Minors. I played on the Indianapolis ABCs, although this was not my only team. In 1917, I registered for the military draft. I also married Hazel Allen, although a year later I got a divorce from Hazel. I was sent to the Colored Students Infantry Camp. And 4 years later, I led the Colored All-Stars to a victory and married Jane Howard. In 1932, I accepted an offer to manage Pittsburgh's baseball team. In 1953, I declined an offer to manage another team and decided to be out for the season. In In 1954, I managed Indianapolis Clowns. After I fell down a flight of stairs, sadly I died from a stroke while in the hospital. The quote about me was, Oscar Charleston could have played on any big league team in history if he had been given the opportunity. He could hit, run, and throw. He did everything a great outfielder was supposed to do. By Wendell Smith.
Would you ever want to be the first person to win 59 baseball games in a row and be a baseball star? Well, that is exactly what I did in 1983. Hi, my name is Don Madden. I was born on April 20th, 1961. I was born and raised in Evansville, Indiana. My dad's name is Bill. He was a Major League Baseball coach. My mom's name is Mary Mattingly. I have 5 siblings. I have 2 sisters named Judy and Jerry and 2 brothers named Randy and Michael. I also have another sister that I have never met. I married my first wife, Kim Sexton, in 1979. We had 3 sons, Taylor, Preston, and Jordan. We later divorced and I married Lori. We had 1 son, Lewis. I played Little League Baseball and we played first baseman. In 1973, we won the Little League Championship in Evansville, Indiana. I played baseball in high school and won state championship in 1979. We had 59 straight victories that season. After high school, I accepted a scholarship to play baseball for the Indiana State Seminoles. My dad informed Major League Baseball teams that I would go to college and not sign a professional contract. I was not interested in college and I was drafted by the New York Yankees in the 19th round in the 1979 draft. I played 4 seasons in the minor league. In 1983, I started my rookie season with the Yankees as a first baseman. I was named to the American League All-Star team 6 times. I won 9 Gold Glove awards, 3 Silver Slugger awards, the 1984 American League Battle title, and was the 1985 American League Most Valuable Player. I served captain of the team from 1991 through 1995. When I retired as a player, the Yankees retired my uniform number 23, making me the only Yankee to have my number retired without having won a World Series. I returned to the Yankees as a coach in 2004. In 2008, I became the Dodgers coach. In 2011, I became the Dodgers manager until 2015. From 2016 through 2022, I managed the Miami Marlins. I am currently the bench coach for the Toronto Blue Jays. Here are a couple of fun facts about me. I appeared in a Simpsons episode called Homer at the Bat. I used to own a restaurant named Mattingly's 23 in Evansville, Indiana. Lastly, in 2005, I opened up a store and sold baseball and softball equipment. 2 famous nicknames you might know me for is a Hitman and Donnie Baseball. A famous quote about me is, if you don't second guess yourself, then you are not trying to get better. Bye and thank you for listening.
In my head, the sky is blue, the grass is green, and cats are orange. Hello, my name is James Robert Davis. But most people know me as Jim Davis. I was born on July 28, 1945. My parents are Anna and James Davis. I have a younger brother named Dave Davis. I was born in Marion, Indiana, but grew up from Fairmont, Indiana, on a farm. When I was growing up, I enjoyed drawing and had many cats. I went to Fairmont, Indiana High School and Ball State University. I became Tom Ryan's assistant and was the assistant artist for Tumbleweeds. After that, I made my own comic, Grown Mad. After I made Grown Mad, I started to make Garfield. I was married twice. My first wife was Carolyn Algebris. My second wife that I'm currently married to is Jill Davis. I have 3 children, James, Ashley, and Christopher Davis. In 1981 and 1985, I won the Best Honor Strip Award. In 1990, I won the Eliza Seeger Award and the Confident Breathing Award. I became a member of the Theta Xi 11 fraternity and wrote Garfield for 9 years. I started making Garfield when I saw there were a lot of movies with dogs and none with cats. I was born in the same town as James Dean and Drew Bugs before cats. Today I live in Albany, Indiana, Here are one of my quotes. The surprising thing was, it's actually easier working on animation than working on comic strips because Garfield is an animation in my head. Today I'm 78 years old and will be 79 in July.
Hello, I'm Janet Jackson, and I was born on May 16th, 1966, in Gary, Indiana, to Joseph Walter and Kathleen Jackson. I'm the youngest of 10 siblings and the oldest of Rebecca Jackson. In 1970, my family moved to Los Angeles, but my mother still owns my childhood home. When I rode elementary, that's right before I went to school. When I went to college, I went to Brighton College. I was on the 1970s show Good Times when I was young. As a teenager, I was on the show Bang. Later, I started being a professor. I appeared on stage for the first time in 1970. After that, inspired by my siblings, I started writing songs. I wrote many famous songs. Some include Our Island Life and All Right.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Harrison. I was born on August 20th, 1883. When I was a child, I lived on a farm. I went fishing and hunting. My mother's and father's name was John Scott Harrison, Elizabeth Wesley Ramsey Thornton. My brothers and sisters' names were Archibald, John Owen, John Scott, James Finley, James Warren, and Sims, Sarah Lacreta, Mary Helen, and Elizabeth Short. When I was a child, I had one year of schooling. When I grew up, I went to Miami, Ohio State University. My job was for being a lawyer, tried for governor twice but didn't make it, elected into the Supreme Court, and finally became president.
The key is not to win everybody has it. It is to prepare to one that is important. Hi, I am Bobby Knight, and that is one of my famous quotes. I was born on October 25th, 1940 in Madison, Ohio. My parents were Pat and Hazel Knight, and I was an only child. I grew up in Madison, Ohio, and Orland, Ohio. I also played basketball at Orland High and Ohio State University. I was a coach for Indiana, Army, and Texas Tech. When I played basketball, I was a forward. I married Nancy Falk in 1988 and had 2 sons, Pat and Tim Knight. Then I married Karen and Edgar. I led the Hoosiers to win 662 games, including 22 seasons of winning 20 or more games, while only losing 239, a .736 winning percentage. I won 902 NCAA Divisional Men's Basketball. My real name is Robert Montgomery. I was nicknamed the General. I also coached the U.S. Men's Olympic team, and they got a gold medal. I am one of the only coaches to win the NCAA and the Olympic gold medal. I was a short-tempered, proud, and happy man. People felt happy about my work. Sadly, I died November 1st, 2023 at the age of 83 in Bloomington, Indiana. I was the last coach to have an undefeated season.
I'm Will Wright. A fun fact about me is my teeth were knocked out at the age of 18. I was born on April 16th, 1867, and I was born in Millville, Indiana. My mother and father are Milton Wright and Susan Catherine Wright. I have 7 siblings, and Orville and I were born 4 years apart. I went to Central High School and attended primary school in Iowa and in Indiana. And also I did excellent in school. As an adult, I experimented with wing designs. Did you know, throughout my life, I moved between Indiana and Ohio, or mid-1980s. Also, did you know I invented the airplane and changed the world with it? I was the 3rd child born in my family.
I had to move before I could get my high school diploma. Oral and I were the only in the family to not get married or have children. I was inspired by a tragic pioneer. Also, as an adult, I sold bicycles, built bicycles, and delivered newspapers. I'm very athletic. Everybody felt underwhelmed at all 10 Wright Flyers. A famous quote about me is, "It is possible to fly without motors, but not without knowledge and skill." But sadly, I died May 30th, 1912, at Dayton, Ohio, and died from typhoid fever.